Hey everyone, and welcome! Today, we're going to dive into a totally revolutionary way to think about resumes. It's an approach that flips decades of old school advice on its head, and it's all about helping millions of people reclaim their futures, people who've been told their own life stories are a liability. So, let's get into it. Okay, this right here, this is the core idea of everything we're about to unpack. It's a complete 180-degree turn in perspective. We're moving away from hiding things, away from feeling ashamed, and moving towards showing off your strength, your resilience. This one thought is the guiding star for all of this. But to really get why this new way is so powerful, we have to talk about the problem first. The whole issue really comes down to this old, outdated idea of the perfect resume, the perfect career path, and why that advice it just doesn't work for so many people. For what feels like forever, this has been the unspoken rule in career services. It's this idea that your professional life has to be this perfectly straight, unbroken line from one job to the next. Any little detour, any gap, that's seen as a flaw, a failure that you've got to cover up. And this is where it gets really messy, right? It creates this vicious cycle. The advice is hide your gaps, which right away puts you on the defensive. But what's the consequence of that? Well, hiring managers are literally trained to spot those hidden gaps, and it just makes them suspicious. It's a total no-win situation that forces you into a place of shame before you even walk in the door. So who gets left behind in all of this? I mean, the list it's just staggering. We're talking about people trying to re-enter society after being incarcerated, people who are in recovery, those who have battled mental health conditions, people with disabilities, heck, anyone who has faced a major obstacle in life. The traditional model pretty much fails every single one of them. Okay, so if the old way is totally broken, what do? Well, that brings us to a completely different, and I mean radically different philosophy. Instead of being obsessed with hiding what some people might call deficits, this new approach is all about proving your strength and owning your entire story. And you can see the difference right here, side by side. It's night and day. The old way says hide your story because your past is a liability. The new way says own your story because your past is proof of your resilience. The old way says your gaps are a problem you have to fix. The new way says no, your gaps are a source of incredible strength. It's a massive shift from shame to pure empowerment. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's not about being vague or making up excuses. It's about taking the truth, the fact that you survived, you recovered, you transformed, and presenting it with the exact same strategic precision that someone else would use to describe a big project they managed at their last job. All right, so that's the big idea. But how does it actually work? How do you put this philosophy into practice on a real resume? This is where we get into the core method, and it's called the resilience reframe. This is how you turn those barriers into actual, tangible, competitive advantages. So let's just break this down. What is the resilience reframe? Basically, it's the art of taking something an employer might see as a negative, like a gap in your work history, and strategically turning it into a demonstrable, positive asset. We're talking about things like crisis management, deep commitment, and proven resilience. Okay, let's look at a real-world example. This is where it gets powerful. Instead of having this blank, suspicious-looking gap on your resume, you reframe it. That period of recovery suddenly becomes proof that you develop skills in emotional regulation and resilience, skills that are, by the way, incredibly valuable in any fast-paced job. You're not hiding the gap. You're explaining why it made you a stronger candidate. Let's take another one which can be really tough, incarceration. Instead of just a single word that invites all sorts of judgment, the reframe focuses on the productive actions you took during that time. It shines a light on vocational training, on education, on a commitment to positive change. It completely shifts the entire narrative from past mistakes to future potential. And here's one more that a lot of people deal with. That vague, often stigmatized line, gap due to personal health issues, becomes this powerful statement of self-improvement. It shows you were proactive, you engaged in your recovery, and you came out with enhanced stress management, a skill every single employer on the planet is looking for. You see, you're framing your experience as a true asset. Now, it's super important to understand this isn't just about clever wording, right? It's not just a writing trick. It's actually part of a much bigger, more complete system where smart strategy meets human dignity. It's a system built from the ground up to actually work in the real world. It's actually a whole 4-part system. It starts with data collection that looks for achievements and strengths that normal resume forms just totally ignore. Then you have the strategic reframing we've been talking about. Tier 3 is absolutely critical. ATS optimization. That's the applicant tracking system, the robot that reads your resume first. This step makes sure you get past the algorithm. And finally, Tier 4 gives you the tools to handle the background check with total confidence. And that's the name of the game right there. In today's world, you have to get past 2 gatekeepers, the algorithm that does the first scan and the human being who makes the final decision. This system is designed to win over both of them.
So at the end of the day, what you get is this entire toolkit for empowerment. It's not just the resume. It's a cover letter that addresses gaps with confidence, not fear. It's talking points for your interview so you know exactly how to tell your story. And it's all wrapped in this dignity-first approach that changes your entire mindset.
All right, let's zoom out for a second. The impact here goes way beyond just one person getting one job. This is about fundamentally changing the entire conversation about what makes a great employee. It's about creating what this philosophy calls the unstoppable candidate. Because this is so much bigger than just one person's resume. This is about challenging the very definition of what a strong candidate even is. It's about making the argument that lived experience and the triumph over real adversity are some of the most powerful predictors of success you could ever find. And this quote, man, this just wraps it all up perfectly. It's a declaration. Your unique journey, with all of its twists and turns and triumphs, is not something to hide. It is your greatest asset. The whole goal is to frame it in a language that employers can finally understand and value. So I want to leave you with this one final question to really think about. What if we've been looking at hiring all wrong? What if the most valuable, the most resilient, and the most committed people out there aren't the ones with a perfectly clean past, but are actually the ones who have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they can triumph over incredible adversity? What would that change?